Guys, what's going on? Welcome to Serial at Midnight.
I'm Bree.
My name is Heath, and this is
The Summer of Cage.
What is the Summer of Cage?
We are watching Nicolas Cage movies
All summer
long. In no particular order.
That's important. We're just kind of taking them as we feel like. We've got a stack. We've got it's like 30 movies in our stack.
And we're just like, what do we feel like watching tonight?
Just go up
and
there,
we just pick one.
Pull one off the shelf.
Yep.
Like, I think tonight feels like a Raising Arizona night. So we'll present these to you guys in the order that we watched them in. But as we just told you, like, no rhyme or reason. Hey, Jinx, buy me a Coke. Also, there'll be a playlist for this, which is awesome, and you can check out this is our second installment of the Summer of Cage. So if you haven't seen our first installment, it's in the description of this video, and you can hit that playlist up. Raising Arizona, one of the greats.
It's great.
Right? It's...
Yeah.
How do you talk about the movie?
Right?
Yeah.
And when I posted about us doing the Summer of Cage, of course, everybody was like, oh, Raising Arizona. I love that movie. It's pretty awesome. It was really great revisiting that movie.
Sorry. I was adding mood music.
Yeah. It really held up, I feel like.
It held up great. Yes. Minnie Midnight watched it with us. She seemed to be interested in it too. It's just a great Cage, great Cage performance.
Yeah.
It's a quirky character, but it's not absurdist and it's not like out there. He gets to do some stuff, but it's just it's such a good movie. Hi. Okay. So we followed that up with Honeymoon in Vegas. One of the many Nicolas Cage movies set in Vegas.
Right? Yeah. There's so many.
There's a lot. We're going to talk about another one in this video in just a few minutes. But also the connection between Nicolas Cage and Elvis, because he was a huge Elvis fan. I'm wearing my Bubba Hotep and the Cosmic Bloodsucker shirt, because Bubba Hotep, Elvis, it's the same person. So Honeymoon in Vegas, well, like, what do we think about this?
It's fine.
It's good.
It's an okay way to spend 90 minutes.
When this movie was over, I'll cut this out if you don't want me to share this, but when this movie was over, you were like, well, they wouldn't make that movie now.
They wouldn't.
And not because there's anything wrong with it.
No, there's not anything wrong with it.
It's nothing really. It's what's.
I don't feel like they make a lot of really character-driven movies.
Yeah.
Where you're just like spending time with characters and following them on their journey and seeing how they develop and grow or not over the course of the movie. It just doesn't feel like the kind of movie we would get. It's
been a while since I've seen it, probably since the 90s, since I've seen Honeymoon in Vegas. And you're right, it's just like there's no particular absurdity, there's no particular like gross out comedy moment. It's just like, I'm Nicolas Cage, I love Sarah Jessica Parker, there's this weird offer, and I'm going to chase him around. And that's like the whole movie. And
I like how you talked about it in their real person's names and not in their movie character names.
Well, I don't remember. Which may be a problem. I'm not sure. But no, it's like, it's good, but it's not great. But I love the Elvis connection and little Bruno Mars. We have to talk about little Bruno. It's the first movie appearance of Bruno Mars. He's a tiny little guy.
He's a kid. It's really funny because when he performed as Kid Elvis, you jokingly said, ladies and gentlemen, little Bruno Mars. And I looked at him and I thought, wait, is it really? That does look like him.
I think just like him.
It is. And so then I looked it up and it was.
Yeah.
But you were just joking, which is hilarious.
Bruno Hernandez as Little Elvis. That's, I think, the credit.
Yep.
It's fun.
It's great.
Yeah. We followed that up with The Rock. Welcome to The Rock. This is an interesting one because talking about how movies have changed and how, like, when we watch movies from the 80s and the 90s, it's easy to look at a movie from the 60s or 70s or the 50s and be like, well, they don't make those kind of movies. But when you watch a movie from the 90s and you're like, this feels like a half a century ago. It's weird, but they like The Rock is like, it's a Michael Bay movie, so but it's pre-Transformers, but it's got all the like, you know, like people rising up in the shots and stuff like that.
It's funny because I think to us, the age that we are, movies from the 90s don't feel like that long ago.
Right.
You know, from our teenage years. Yeah. And they seem more recent, but then when you go back and revisit some of them, you're like, huh. that, not that it's not a good movie, but it's just they don't make movies like
it
that
feels
anymore.
from another
it feels
era.
so different. Yeah. Like you said, like when you watch movies from like the 70s or 60s, and you can just tell.
I'm not used to having to put movies from the 90s in context.
In context, yeah.
But more and more as we're doing this.
Oh, it was the 90s.
we have to put Honeymoon in Vegas in context.
Yeah.
Now we have to put The Rock in context. And it's a director who's still working today on like the peak of his powers, right? They're still making Michael Bay movies. So it's really weird. But great Nicolas Cage in this.
Yeah. And Sean Connery.
And Sean, I get to do my Sean Connery impression.
Somebody's going to complain about it in the comments. They always do.
Always. Yeah, no one can just be like, hey, that was fun. They have to be like, that sucked.
I know, every time you try to be fun, they're like, just tell us stuff.
It's true. That's actually true. Like, not everybody, but like too many people are like, this isn't fun. You need to try harder. It's true. Like, cause when you're with your friends and someone's like, hey man, they say like they do a silly voice, you know how you're like, not good enough. No one does. Like when you're with your friends, we're just hanging out. People hold YouTubers to a higher standard. Yeah. Side rant about YouTube. Nicolas Cage has one of my favorite line deliveries of all time in this movie. And I don't even remember the exact quote, but it's the Zeus's butthole quote. Because he's like, well, I understand how you got past the guards and I understand how you swam to safety. But what I don't understand and what you haven't mentioned is how in the name of Zeus's butthole did you get out of your cell? And it's like this, like, it's like early, like, I would call it like Baroque Nicolas Cage. Like Vincent Price at some point in his period was just like, I am no longer an actor. I am Baroque. And it's like Nicolas Cage is just like off the rails. And I don't remember him being like that, but maybe here and there. But
sprinkled in.
So, like, let's summary that. Do we like this? Do we like, it's like, I like it. It's too long. It's 30% too long.
I would agree with that. I think for me, it was too slow getting started. Setting everything up.
It's an hour before they get to the Rock.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Because I'll do that thing where, like, we'll be watching a movie, like an action movie or whatever, and I'll look at you and I'm like, I think I've missed something.
And I'm like,
can you explain, like, what's happening? And he'll explain it, and I'll be like, oh, I got everything.
It happened
just
in this
taken them
movie.
a really long time to set it. It did happen in this movie.
You're like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm like, well, they've just, like, this guy broke into the Rock, and then they're just showing that he's willing to take hostages. Yeah. And they're like, oh, it's been 25 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
So, yeah, I always blame it on myself. I'm like, well, clearly I'm too dumb and I missed something. And it's not
the way storytelling has changed. Let's talk about our final. This is our final one for this
Next
installment.
Is our final. Finally, next.
Finally, next. Well, it's not great. Next is not great. It's like half of a movie.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Is the story really needs a bit of work.
It's like if you baked a cake and you forgot 2 of the ingredients.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I feel bad. Like, we're getting to the point where like people who made some of these movies are maybe watching Serial at midnight, and I feel bad saying that. Yeah. It could have happened at the executive level. Who knows?
But it wasn't terrible.
This has bad guys.
Awful, but
who are the bad guys in this movie? There's like 3 scenes with bad guys, and I'm like, who are the?
Yeah, I think that's what was hard for us is we couldn't really figure out character motivation or like why we were supposed to care about.
Do you want to talk about Nicolas Cage and Jessica Biel and the age difference? You don't have to, but it's an 18-year age difference.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Things like that in movies bothered me for a long time.
It's not as bad as Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones in Entrapment when she was like 40 years younger than him or whatever it was.
Yeah. Those age gaps really bother me.
The premise... Go ahead. Yeah.
I won't go into any further explanation, but it did bother me.
The premise of this movie, which takes place in Las Vegas, again, that's 3 if we're leaving Las Vegas, which we haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
Honeymoon in Vegas and Next, also Vegas, is that he can see the future, but only 2 minutes into the future.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
And I don't think the movie knows what to do with it.
Yeah.
But he gets... I was going to say he gets some good moments, but he really doesn't. There's no... I can't even point to a scene where I'm like, well, that was really good. Peter Falk, Columbo, is in one scene.
Yeah.
It's an odd... And I'm going to say this too, Summer of Cage. This is it's a 2007 movie. I think this is getting to the end of when he was like a bankable, viable studio star. This is Paramount. And it would not be long after that it would just be like one low-budget direct-to-video movie after another.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of joy to discover there, and we will. But this is a good place to leave it this time. So, Summer of Cage, episode 2, installment number 2. We're going to keep going. What do you guys think we should watch next? The movie next? If I hadn't thrown it, I
know you could have held it up again.
What do you think? Where are we going from here? I guess we should keep it a secret, right? But
I don't want to give any spoilers. No spoilers, sorry.
And I know you guys are thinking, Mandy, it's in the stack.
It is.
It's in the stack.
We
So
haven't gotten to it yet.
stay tuned. We're doing this all summer long. Let us know what you think. Let us know what some of your favorites are, and we will celebrate Cage, man. All right, guys, thanks so much. Take care. And until next time, we will catch you later.